September 11, 2001. It begins like any other Tuesday morning in America. Coffee brewing in millions of homes. Commuters heading to work. Children preparing for school. In Sarasota, Florida, President George W. Bush awakens at the Colony Beach Resort, completely unaware that this ordinary September day will become the most extraordinary and tragic day of his presidency. The morning sun bathes the resort in golden light as Bush prepares for what should be a routine visit to an elementary school. History, however, has already set a different course. At 8 a.m., President Bush's day begins with his standard security briefing. The presidential daily brief mentions ongoing concerns about Al-Qaeda, but nothing suggests imminent domestic attacks. Bush reviews his schedule, a visit to Emma E. Booker Elementary School to promote his No Child Left Behind education initiative. It's the kind of feel-good event that usually generates positive headlines. The president shaves, dresses in his signature dark suit, and mentally prepares talking points about reading scores and federal education funding. Outside, his motorcade waits under the Florida sunshine. Presidential protection on September 11th operates under peacetime protocols. The Secret Service detail surrounding Bush includes some of the most elite agents in federal law enforcement. They've planned every detail of the school visit: entrance routes, evacuation procedures, crowd control. Agent Dave Wilkinson checks his watch. 8:32 a.m. The motorcade begins its journey to the elementary school. Radio chatter is routine: traffic updates, crowd estimates, weather conditions. None of these highly trained professionals suspect that in 14 minutes, everything they know about protecting the president will change forever. Emma E. Booker Elementary School buzzes with excitement. Second graders practice their reading demonstration one final time. Teachers adjust bulletin boards and ensure every detail is perfect for the presidential visit. Principal Gwen Toes-Riggle greets staff members early, knowing this will be the biggest day in the school's history. Local media sets up cameras in the gymnasium. Parents volunteer as additional security. The anticipation is palpable, completely innocent and joyful. Nobody in the Sarasota school could imagine they're about to witness history's most dramatic presidential crisis unfold in real time. 1,200 miles away, American Airlines Flight 11 screams toward Manhattan at 466 miles per hour. Hijacker Mohammed Atta grips the controls as the Boeing 767 approaches the North Tower of the World Trade Center. At exactly 8:46 a.m., the aircraft tears through floors 93 through 99, creating a gaping wound in America's symbol of economic power. The impact kills all 87 people aboard instantly and traps hundreds more in the tower's upper floors. Jet fuel ignites, sending black smoke billowing across the New York skyline. The deadliest terrorist attack in American history has begun. At 8:47 a.m., just 60 seconds after impact, WNYW's morning show cuts to breaking news. Reporter Jim Ryan struggles to describe what he's seeing. We have unconfirmed reports of a plane crash into the World Trade Center. Camera operators frantically adjust their lenses, trying to capture the unprecedented scene. Phone lines across New York jam as witnesses call friends and family. Initial reports suggest a small aircraft accident, perhaps a pilot error or mechanical failure. The full magnitude of what's happening hasn't yet registered. America still believes this might be a tragic accident, not an act of war. By 8:49 a.m., CNN interrupts regular programming with breaking news coverage. Anchor Carol Lynn becomes the first to report the story nationally. This just in. You are looking at obviously a very disturbing live shot there. That is the World Trade Center, and we have unconfirmed reports this morning that a plane has crashed into one of the towers. Within minutes, every major network follows suit. ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox News all switch to continuous coverage. International broadcasters pick up the feed. Social media doesn't exist yet, but traditional media spreads the news faster than ever before in human history. At 8:55 a.m., President Bush's motorcade arrives at Emma E. Booker Elementary School. As he steps from his limousine, Chief of Staff Andrew Card approaches with urgent news. Mr. President, a plane has hit the World Trade Center. Bush's first reaction is one of concern, but not alarm. He assumes it's a small aircraft, a tragic accident requiring presidential sympathy, but not crisis management. Bush proceeds into the school, planning to make brief remarks about the incident after his education event. He has no idea that Flight 175 is already approaching Manhattan, or that America is under coordinated attack. Inside Mrs. Sandra K. Daniels' second-grade classroom, 18 children sit cross-legged on a colorful carpet, holding copies of The Pet Goat. President Bush settles into a small chair, surrounded by eager young faces and clicking cameras. The children begin their reading demonstration. The goat lived in a house. The house was brown. Their innocent voices create a surreal counterpoint to the growing crisis. Bush smiles and nods encouragingly, still unaware that across the country, Flight 175 is descending toward the South Tower. In moments, this peaceful classroom scene will become one of history's most analyzed presidential moments. As children continue reading aloud, United Airlines Flight 175 approaches the South Tower at 590 miles per hour. Hijacker Marwan al-Shehhi banks the Boeing 767 into a sharp turn, aiming for floors 77 through 85. At 9:03 a.m., the aircraft explodes into the tower's south face, killing all 65 people aboard and hundreds more inside. The second impact, broadcast live on television, shatters any illusion of accident. America now knows with horrifying certainty, we are under attack. The fireball visible for miles becomes seared into the national consciousness. This is no longer breaking news, it's war. At 9:05 a.m., Chief of Staff Andrew Card quietly approaches President Bush in the classroom. Camera crews capture the moment as Card leans down and whispers into the president's right ear, "A second plane hit the second tower. America is under attack." Bush's expression shifts from engagement to gravity. He continues listening to the children read, his mind racing. Should he excuse himself immediately? Would that frighten the children? Create panic? For 7 crucial minutes, Bush remains in his chair, later explaining he didn't want to alarm anyone. Critics will debate this decision for decades. Those 7 minutes in the classroom become the most scrutinized presidential moments since the Kennedy assassination. Bush sits motionless, his face betraying the weight of Andrew Card's whispered words. The children continue reading, "The goat ate all the grass in the yard." Secret Service agents position themselves strategically, ready to evacuate at the president's signal. But Bush doesn't move. Later, he'll explain his thinking. Sudden departure would create chaos and telegraph panic to the nation. His critics argue precious time was lost. Supporters say he showed calm leadership. The debate continues 20 years later. Television networks worldwide interrupt programming to show the Twin Towers burning. In London, office workers crowd around television screens. In Tokyo, late-night viewers witness America under attack in real time. The BBC, Sky News, CNN International all broadcast the same horrifying images. This is the first global terrorist attack of the digital age, unfolding live on television. Viewers can't look away as smoke pours from both towers. Many are watching live when the towers eventually collapse. September 11th becomes humanity's first shared global trauma witnessed simultaneously by billions of people. Vice President Dick Cheney starts his morning with a routine intelligence briefing in his West Wing office. At 9:05 a.m., Secret Service agents burst in. "Sir, we need to move you now." They physically lift Cheney from his chair and rush him toward the Presidential Emergency Operations Center, the secure bunker beneath the White House. Down a narrow staircase, through reinforced doors, into the underground facility designed to protect America's leadership during nuclear war. Cheney establishes communication with the Pentagon, CIA, and FBI. From this bunker, he'll make decisions that will later spark constitutional controversy. ATME, Booker Elementary, Secret Service agent Dave Wilkinson receives urgent radio traffic. POTUS detail, "We need to move now." The decision is made to evacuate President Bush immediately. Bush concludes his classroom visit, telling the children to continue being good citizens. As he exits, his demeanor has completely changed, presidential authority replacing the friendly school visitor. Students and teachers sense something serious is happening but aren't told what. The presidential motorcade speeds toward Sarasota Bradenton International Airport, where Air Force One waits on the tarmac, engines already running. The presidential aircraft, a modified Boeing 747-200B designated SAM 28000, sits ready for immediate departure. Colonel Mark Tillman, the pilot, has already filed a flight plan back to Washington, D.C. But as President Bush boards at 9:32 a.m., new intelligence changes everything. Reports suggest additional hijacked aircraft remain airborne. The White House Communications Center reports possible threats against Air Force One itself. Colonel Tillman receives updated orders: do not return to Washington. Instead, head for Barksdale Air Force Base in Louisiana. The President of the United States is now effectively in exile from his own capital. As Air Force One climbs to cruising altitude, American Airlines Flight 77 completes its deadly mission in Washington, D.C. Hijacker Hani Hanjour pilots the Boeing 757 into the Pentagon's western wall at 530 miles per hour. The impact kills all 64 people aboard and 125 Pentagon personnel. The world's most powerful military headquarters is suddenly vulnerable, burning, and partially collapsed. Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld helps carry stretchers from the wreckage. The symbolism is devastating. Within 1 hour, terrorists have struck America's centers of economic and military power. The psychological impact reverberates globally. 35,000 feet above the Gulf of Mexico, President Bush transforms Air Force One into a flying command center. Secure satellite communications connect him to Vice President Cheney in the White House bunker, Secretary of Defense Rumsfeld at the Pentagon, and FBI Director Robert Mueller. Bush's Texas drawl carries new gravitas as he issues orders. Find out who did this. I want to know who did this. The presidential cabin becomes a war room. Maps spread across tables. Intelligence reports stream in continuously. This is presidential leadership under the ultimate test, managing a national crisis from an airborne sanctuary. United Airlines Flight 93 takes off from Newark at 8:42 a.m., 40 minutes behind schedule due to routine air traffic delays. This delay proves crucial. Passengers and crew learn about the other attacks through phone calls. Flight attendant C.C. Lyles calls her husband, "They've hijacked our plane. I love you." Passenger Todd Beamer's famous words, "Let's roll," rally fellow passengers to action. At 10:03 a.m., Flight 93 crashes into a Pennsylvania field just 20 minutes from Washington, D.C. The passengers' heroism prevents a fourth attack on the nation's capital, possibly saving the Capitol building or White House. In the White House bunker at 10:18 a.m., Vice President Cheney faces an unprecedented decision. Military officials report unidentified aircraft approaching Washington. Cheney authorizes shooting down any hostile aircraft, a decision that only the President or Defense Secretary can legally make. The 9/11 Commission will later find no evidence that Bush approved this order beforehand. Did Cheney exceed his constitutional authority? Or did extraordinary circumstances justify extraordinary actions? The issue remains historically contentious. At 10:20 a.m., Bush's notes finally read, authorized shoot down if necessary, but was this retroactive approval? In Manhattan, the unthinkable happens. The North Tower of the World Trade Center, struck first but falling second, collapses in a thunderous roar. 110 stories of steel and concrete pancake downward in less than 10 seconds. The collapse sends massive dust clouds through lower Manhattan streets, turning day into night. First responders run for their lives. Office workers flee covered in gray dust. The tower that once symbolized American economic dominance becomes a pile of twisted metal and concrete. The New York City skyline, instantly and forever changed, now has a gaping wound where the Twin Towers once stood. At 11:45 a.m., Air Force One touches down at Barksdale Air Force Base in Shreveport, Louisiana. President Bush hasn't been to the White House for over 3 hours, the longest separation from the seat of power in modern presidential history. Strategic Air Command bombers surround the presidential aircraft. Nuclear missiles stand ready in underground silos. This Cold War facility, designed to fight the Soviet Union, now protects America's leader from stateless terrorists. Bush records a brief video message in the base commander's office. Freedom itself was attacked this morning by a faceless coward, and freedom will be defended. But Washington remains too dangerous for his return. By noon, the Federal Aviation Administration has accomplished something unprecedented in aviation history. Every commercial aircraft in American airspace has been ordered to land immediately. Operation Yellow Ribbon sees 4,546 aircraft grounded within hours. International flights are diverted to Canada, overwhelming airports in Halifax, Gander, and Vancouver. The skies over America, normally crisscrossed by thousands of aircraft, fall silent except for military fighters. This aerial lockdown demonstrates both America's vulnerability and its government's decisive response capability. The economic impact is immediate. The stock market closes, businesses shut down, and normal life suspends indefinitely. In secure facilities across Washington, intelligence agencies work frantically to understand the attack scope and prevent additional strikes. CIA Director George Tenet briefs President Bush by secure video link from Langley. FBI counterterrorism teams mobilize nationwide. NSA communications intercepts pour in from monitoring stations worldwide. The intelligence picture gradually emerges, 19 hijackers, 4 aircraft, coordinated timing. But questions remain, are more attacks planned? Which terrorist organization is responsible? How did this massive operation escape detection? The intelligence community faces its greatest failure and its most urgent mission simultaneously. The United States Secret Service confronts an unprecedented challenge: protecting the president when the entire homeland is under attack. Agents don't know if more aircraft are hijacked, if car bombs threaten motorcade routes, or if the White House itself faces imminent attack. Traditional protection protocols prove inadequate for this new reality. Agent in charge Eddie Maranzel makes the difficult decision. The president cannot return to Washington until the all-clear is given. This decision keeps Bush airborne for hours more, drawing criticism but potentially saving his life. The service adapts its procedures in real time, learning hard lessons about 21st century terrorism. At 2:50 p.m., Air Force One lands at Offutt Air Force Base near Omaha, Nebraska, headquarters of the United States Strategic Command. This facility controls America's nuclear arsenal, including 6,000 warheads and their delivery systems. President Bush descends into the underground command center, surrounded by screens showing the global military situation. From this bunker, he could launch nuclear weapons if necessary. The irony is stark, responding to low-tech terrorism from high-tech nuclear command facilities. Bush convenes a National Security Council meeting via secure video conference, coordinating with cabinet members scattered across multiple secure locations. By 4:30 p.m., military officials declare Washington airspace secure enough for presidential return. Air Force One departs Offutt for the final leg of its odyssey. Fighter escorts flank the presidential aircraft, F-16s from the District of Columbia Air National Guard, providing protection previously deemed unnecessary. The flight takes 2 hours, giving Bush time to prepare remarks for the nation. Speech writers craft words adequate to the moment's gravity. Bush practices his delivery, knowing millions of Americans need reassurance that their government still functions, their president still leads, and their nation will respond to this unprecedented attack. At 6:54 p.m., exactly 10 hours and 8 minutes after departing Florida, Air Force One touches down at Joint Base Andrews outside Washington. President Bush has been away from the White House longer than any modern president during a national crisis. The aircraft taxis to a secure hangar where Marine One helicopter waits to ferry Bush to the White House South Lawn. As the presidential helicopter lifts off, Bush can see the Pentagon's damaged western wall, still smoldering. The sight reinforces the day's reality: America has been attacked on its own soil, and the president must now lead a wounded but determined nation toward an uncertain future. At 8:30 p.m., President Bush addresses the nation from the Oval Office. His words, carefully chosen during the day's travels, attempt to comfort, reassure, and warn. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. Bush promises to hunt down those responsible and make no distinction between terrorists and those who harbor them. The address reaches 82 million Americans, the largest television audience since the Kennedy assassination. In 9 minutes, Bush sets the stage for what will become the global war on terror. The sun sets on September 11, 2001, ending the darkest day in modern American history. Nearly 3,000 innocent people have perished. 4 aircraft have been destroyed. The Twin Towers have collapsed. The Pentagon burns. But America endures. President Bush's day, from a Florida elementary school to the Oval Office, illustrates both the vulnerability and resilience of American democracy. The attacks expose security failures, but also reveal heroism, unity, and determination. September 11th becomes a watershed moment, dividing American history into before and after. The nation that goes to sleep that night will awaken tomorrow forever changed, but not broken.